Hello, Brain Candy Podcast, episode 820. We ended on a cliffhanger.
We did?
Oh, yes. You've blocked it
out. Oh my God. Oh my fucking God. I have blocked it out. Susie, can we talk about that?
Yeah?
We're talking about the mouse incident, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure.
Scurrygate.
Scurrygate. Okay. The rest of the day, I walked around with that, that feeling of like that you did something terrible or that you were caught in a lie or something like that. Like, it's like this feeling of, I have it, this horrible weight like on your heart.
Yeah.
It took me a good 4 to 5 hours to shake that feeling. And I had to use every fucking tool in my therapy toolbox to help me do it. I out loud was like, my mom and I were like doing a return at Amazon return at Kohl's. I'm like walking through there and I'm like, I cannot relax. Okay, Sarah, take some deep breaths. We're going to put one hand on the heart and one hand on the chest. And we're going to just take some deep breaths and feel like it's okay. And you didn't do anything wrong. And you're okay. And you are safe. And look around and notice some things that you see. I'm like,
oh,
God.
Lord, wow.
Ah!
Wait, because what? You felt guilty or you just were still scared?
I think a combo of all of it, it was just the adrenaline, the anxiety, the fear, the feeling of like, I didn't protect this little creature. I made multiple attempts. I think it's okay. Because
Here we go.
So I got the mattress, I flung it over the side. Then afterwards, when we were all wrapped up for the day,
yeah,
I lock everything, lock the door, go to leave, and I'm like, what would David Attenborough do? And I turned right back around and I was like, you gotta do it. You gotta get some balls and you gotta fucking just do it. So I found another like outdoor rug, and I threw that over. And
that was the one that ripped.
That was the one that ripped. The corner of it ripped. But I have since looked at the damage, and we're fine.
Damage. Well,
no mouse.
What happened to that guy that was gonna rescue you?
Well, he was on a call, and he texted me, and he was like, because I sent him this whole message and a video that I took of Little Mouse,
God.
And I was like, we had a situation. Here's could you help? I am so scared of this, and he said he thought it was very funny that he was like,
and it is.
He's like, I heard a scream that first sounded like a scream of terror, and then they sounded like screams of excitement. So I was very confused. Yeah.
Right. Well, that is a good point, because you were pretty screamy for a while, and he did not come down to see if you were being murdered.
I know.
Now I'm like,
right.
That's disturbing. But do you think he just had this feeling of like, listen, I didn't sign up for this?
Yeah, I think so. And there was like, I don't know if there was any effort put into the rescue mission after I left and then sent him the mess. I don't think so either.
What do you think happened?
Well, I think the mouse escaped because he's not down there. Well, he's not down there. I checked.
Right.
I did a visual.
From a distance.
No.
Binoculars.
Yeah.
So you think this guy was just like, yeah, okay, Sarah. And then just like never looked even.
Right.
But you're saying there's no mouse, so something.
Right. And I created a perfect, like,
escape
when I saw how,
plan.
Yes. I saw how far he was jumping before. This guy's fine. He got out.
Okay, great.
There's a little like, whoop, he could run right up, I'm sure.
Okay,
Please.
Good. I didn't get that vibe from the videos, the video journey that I took that you sent to me.
Yeah. Because I did, the footage. Because at that point, I hadn't then come back to the house and checked down at a basement level to see the setup. I was like, I can't, because my fear was if I go down there and I see that it's not a nice escape path for him, then I'm not getting in that fucking storm drain thing to go set it up for him. That's it. That was the last ditch effort. So I was like, it's in God's hands. We'll see. And luckily, Lord works in mysterious ways, set it right up. I got a little, like, it fell in the right place. And then I talked to my mom, like, Mom, what if the mat squished him? And she goes, guaranteed the mat did not squish him.
Yeah.
Because do you know that those things fit through holes that are like teeny?
Yeah, they like flatten their bodies.
Yes.
And stuff.
She's like, absolutely not. The 2x3 foot jute rug did not kill him.
Okay, well, I'll say this.
Yeah.
You did more than most people that without a phobia would even do.
Thank you. I really, like, I was just like, if it were any other animal, except a snake. Yeah. Because that slither and scurry.
They deserve to die.
Right.
Snakes.
They're like, oh my God. Speaking of, I saw this video of this python, boa constrictor, whatever, was trying to kill and swallow a van. It was wrapped, or it was so huge, it was wrapped 2 times around a fucking minivan.
That is disgusting.
Disgusting.
That's why, you know, how like the imagery for Satan is a snake, you know, and the snake in the Garden of Eden. It's like, yeah, because they're evil and they should be eradicated.
Get them out of here. Who is that? Who's the little pipe thing? Snakes out of Ireland?
That guy. Mm-hmm.
Whoever that was.
We need one of those real life right now. Get him out.
It wasn't St. Patrick. No, I'm confusing.
I think
that.
so. It was
I
one
feel
of those
like
guys.
that feels right,
yeah.
but also not right. I don't know anything.
Well, I don't think it was real, so like we can just.
Oh yeah, then,
you know what I mean? Like who cares?
Right.
Whoever it was.
Yeah.
Where is he now?
Yeah, I'm worried about historical accuracy on who the person was that played his flute and all the snakes followed.
Yeah, they followed him.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. And like, snakes, I was reading about on Catalina Island.
Oh.
How they are getting more aggressive. Yeah,
Suze,
that's all we need.
Suze, we were supposed to go there in June for my aunt's 80th birthday as a whole family together, and we changed because we couldn't get a house that was big enough to accommodate everybody, so thank God we're going to Big Bear instead. If you would have told me this story and we were still set up to go there, I'd be like, I think I have COVID.
Yeah, it was saying how the research that they did was in conflict with Darwin's observation of how if you go to like remote islands that they're more docile and like everything's utopian or whatever, and Catalina they're like getting emboldened and work. Well, yeah.
Listen, I've been to Catalina and I almost got in a fight there. You remember when I told the story on here when I went to the beach club and there was the guy who had the swastika or like the white pride tattoo on his lower back, and I was like, I am not hanging out on a beach with this racist motherfucker, and it was a whole scene, and then I went back to the boat and everything, and so I maybe it's just something about
maybe it brings
Catalina.
Makes
or
people aggressive.
The snakes are aware of the kind of people who maybe sometimes go to Catalina and they got to get a little tough because they're dealing with white supremacists on their shores.
Maybe.
I too got aggressive with the locals, or not locals, but you know.
Well, I'll tell you what makes me aggressive, and that is my enthusiasm for Thrive Cosmetics because I can't tame it.
This whole look brought to you by Thrive Cosmetics.
Me too.
Yeah, and I just watched a tutorial on how to apply blush in a different place to like make your cheekbones look higher.
Yeah, what's the trick?
And instead of I was putting it too low, almost like a C on the on the outside, but by a corner of like your eyebrow down to the top of your cheek, and it really works. And I love the cream blush for that. The little stick that I use.
That's a good tip because I must be putting it too low too. I need to do the C. I will try that with my Thrive Cosmetics, but also the Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara, the Infinity Waterproof Eyebrow Liner, the Brilliant Eye Brightener. All their products are amazing. I've never gotten one and been like, eh.
No, never ever. I'm whole face. Every single one that you just named, I have on my face right now.
They're amazing. Their lipsticks are great too. And they give back to communities in need. They support things that we love. And, well, they're 100% vegan, but they look adorable. That's what I care about. Refresh your everyday look with Thrive Cosmetics luxury beauty that gives back. Right now, you can get an exclusive 10% off your first order at thrivecosmetics.com/braincandy. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/braincandy for 10% off your first order. I felt like I had something else to say about that, but that's it. Okay. Yeah, snakes, horrible. Mice. Ugh. You did well dealing with that. I'm glad you're okay. I watched the footage over and over. It made me laugh so hard.
That I felt like I should just send you everything because I was like, I'm not gonna pick and choose. She should just see all of the
like when the mouse jumps or drops or whatever you want to call it.
He jumps.
It looks like a jump. It's propelled.
It is, Susie. I watched it happen 10 times.
Yeah,
it's a jump, and so I'm like, oh my god, he did it again because it was.
Yeah, because it's not like he just fell. It was out.
He's trying to escape. That's why I was like, oh my God, I can see the fight in this little guy.
Yeah. Well, we can see it because he escaped and all's well that ends well.
Yep.
Okay. So the first thing I want to start with today made me laugh because this was in the New York Post and some lady, New York, NYU student, claims that she got addicted to cheese. Like proper. She went to rehab.
Okay. This is white people shit.
Totally.
I've never heard any more of a white person story in my whole life.
It's just so great. This is why people watch Hoarders, because it's so fun to like see somebody that makes you feel better about your life. Yeah. Where you're like, well, I'm not addicted to fucking Parmesan. You know what I mean? So at least I have that going for me.
At least, thank God. So how does one know if they're addicted to cheese? Because let me tell you, I have never met a cheese board I didn't like.
Right, that's true. Like you, on one hand, you think, well, this could happen to anybody because
slippery
cheese.
Slope. Yeah.
But on the other hand, this hooker was eating 5.5 blocks of cheese per week.
Wait, how much?
I think that we're talking about like
a big
brick.
Block.
I'm picturing like a brick.
5.5. Okay.
Like a 1 pound or 2 pound or whatever they come in.
And I'm guessing she's not eating the fancy brie.
That's right. She said she had to really go for the cheap stuff.
It's the cheap stuff, which is, can you imagine what that's doing to her insides?
Ew, right?
Like, please.
Okay, so she was doing, and she loves those savory Parmesan crisps.
Oh, I love those too.
Well, yeah, I mean, who doesn't?
We're only human.
Yeah, I mean, I get the feeling she was really going to town because she went to, well, I guess we won't call it rehab. We'll call it a 2-week wellness retreat in Hilton Head. I mean, this sounds great. Maybe this was the perfect crime, really.
No, right?
Now that I'm thinking
is insurance covering this? I'm sure there's something I could find that I'm.
Well, the minimum for this wellness retreat is $5,000 a week. So it must be a real nice retreat.
Whoa.
But to me, one of the funniest parts is that, like, I thought, well, do you think she is like cheese sober? You know, like she had vegan or whatever. And she's not. Like, she's still eating cheese, Sarah. So, like, how addicted could you have been if you can...
What are we doing here? What are we doing? Because if I were to pull up... Ooh. Okay, you know what? Let's play that game. I'm going to pull up the DSM's definition of
addiction.
And addiction is one of those things where it's like a self-labeled diagnosis.
That's what you say, but...
Because they have to have... okay, DSM.
I don't understand that. This is what makes people think that psychiatry is like a bunch of bullshit. Because if you're like, the person has to announce it. Like, I don't have to announce that I have cancer. I either do or I don't.
Right.
Whereas addiction evidently is just like relying on my testimony about it.
I mean, I say like, we all know that there's addiction there, but like in order for a person to want, I suppose that's kind of with everything. In order to do anything about it, you have to first like go to the doctor. It's kind of like if you never go to the doctor, you don't have anything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in a way, you're like, have to get yourself there and get the diagnosis and say, here are my symptoms.
If somebody's eating 5.5 bricks a brie or whatever, I don't need a doctor to tell me.
Craving to use the substance, wanting to cut down or stop but not managing to, taking the substance in large amounts for longer than you're meant to, neglecting other parts of your life because I'm gonna replace this with cheese. I'm gonna say craving to use the cheese, wanting to cut down or stop using cheese but not managing to, taking the cheese in larger amounts for longer than you're meant to, neglecting other parts of your life because of cheese use, continuing to use cheese even when it causes problems in the relationship, using cheese even when it puts you in danger. I don't think that. What?
She packed on all these pounds and was like pre-diabetic by the end of it. And so then she got to go on Ozempic, so that helped because she could
that's the cravings.
Curb the cravings.
Yeah.
And all that. But
this seems just like a binge eating disorder.
It does seem like that. But I guess because it's such
an addiction. It's kind of, I don't even freaking know. That is not my area of expertise.
I've heard eating disorders be described in that category.
Yeah, right, of course. Me too. Now, as soon as I said it, I was like, wait. Because it's one of those things where I'm like, okay, when you get down to the actual definition, it does.
Yeah.
Kind of like we say there's no such thing as a fish or whatever, where you're like, but wait.
But that's why it's like, we shouldn't even know about this. Why does the New York Post know that this woman was hooked on cheese?
That is a good. That's the better question, I think, because this feels a little bit like, look at me. I'm getting attention somewhere. I need some sort of.
Yeah.
She needs therapy.
She does. She does, because she says, like I said, she's still eating cheese, and she just goes for she says she just goes for lighter mozzarella instead of Vermont cheddar or Parmesan. So she's just like, when you do maybe like a lower alcohol beer instead of like
harm reduction. Okay, so there's this feeling, when you're a therapist, it's not a therapist's job to tell somebody else what's wrong with them, to tell them, like, because who's to say what is, I mean, we have these ideas of what's normal, but if it's not bothering anybody else, what do you say? It's like, it's not hurting me. There's like a word or a phrase.
Oh, yeah. If it doesn't pick my pocket or break my leg. Yeah.
Right. If it doesn't pick my pocket or break my leg or anybody else's, then like, what's the problem really?
Yeah.
So,
knock yourself out.
With that like framework in mind, or like that understanding, you can be upset or paranoid or anxious or addicted or hyper focused on anything in the whole entire universe. That's why we have those people who are like married to the Eiffel Tower, fucking whatever, like it's a real thing.
Ultra marathon
or running right, because it's and it could be anything. Yeah. And it's really just how that individual labels it. Like some of those ultra marathoners can be like, oh, this is the best. I do this all the time. Blah, blah, blah. In the same way, some addicts can be like, oh, this is the best. I just do this all the time. And it's like, we can look around and be like, yeah, but you have no life and you're crazy and you're doing laps through the airport, you weirdo. Or like,
Well, she would try to like curb it, and she'd be like, I'm going to eat a salad, because I'm sure she was constipated. And she said that it became like a big old pile of Parmesan and then just like a piece of lettuce instead of like a Caesar.
Do you want some salad with your cheese? Like,
yeah. And then I think this is also very funny. Like, as a side note of the article, it said that she had sued NYU at one point over anti-Semitism. This was in 2019. And so it was obvious that she was a Jewish gal. And then it said that the situation right now politically regarding Israel really was causing some brief relapses for her in the cheese.
She got back on the cheese wagon. Or no, fell off the cheese. Yeah, I was like, I know there's a joke about cheese wheel and the wheel of a wagon made of something like that. Work it out.
She said the waves of anti-Israel encampments at Columbia and other universities prompted some brief relapses for her.
Well, that makes sense. You can high stressors.
Yeah.
You're gonna reach to your usual coping strategy, even if it's a wheel of cheese.
So we wish her the best. Obviously relatable because cheese is so yummy. Right. But I don't know why it's in a magazine or a publication of any.
Because it's one of those things where the story isn't the headline. The story is the woman.
Right. So do you think she called them up and she was like, get a load of this?
And they were
how do they know?
Okay. Yeah, I want to know. That's a good point because it's not like the doctors are going around being like, go interview this gal. They can't do that. So she had to make a deal. This seems to me like the kind who would have go live on Instagram.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'm addicted to, and that is Oak Essentials. All of their lotions and potions.
I was waiting for us to talk about them because let me tell you, when I went to go move into when I looked at my new house and when I was like not even moved in yet, but like viewing it, whatever.
Yeah.
Walking in and it's the cutest. Wait till you see. Everything's perfectly designed and adorable. I open the medicine cabinet, bathroom cabinet, full of Oak Essentials.
No.
I was like, oh my God, is this a brainiac? Or like... Is this somebody who just knows?
Was it staged, or do you think the owner really just had...
I know who it was because then I looked her up on Instagram. Oh. She's a hairdresser. She's so cute. Owns a hair salon, so she knows good stuff.
This is hilarious.
What am I going to not look up the person whose home I moved into?
Yeah, that's smart because you do
and I want to know the vibes. Yeah. She's so cool and big fan of Oak Essentials.
Moisturized.
Yeah, I was like, oh, look at this. And I said that to the realtor. I was like, I could have gotten her a discount.
Yes, and we can get all of you discounts. This product was made by the same people that make Jenny Kane, so it's super high quality, and it makes you feel like you have your own personal little spa at home.
Yes.
You got all the magical stuff to get your summer glow a-cooking, and it makes a great gift for anybody, and it's just really nice stuff. They have the moisture-rich balm.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, like the whole line. I'm like, this is my kind of stuff.
And it looks gorgeous.
The dewy body oil.
Yeah.
Lube it up, baby.
Yeah.
It's really nice, and you will all love it. Treat yourself or someone else. Our followers get 15% off their first order when you use the code BrainCandy15 at checkout. That's 15% off, plus a gift with your first order at OAKESSENTIALS.com. Promo code BrainCandy15. Go ahead and treat yourself. Unlock summer-like skin with Oak Essentials. Okay, so next up, something that made me laugh because I'm in the mood for a giggle.
Good.
Was the headline said a woman was found living in a Michigan grocery store sign complete with computer and Keurig for a year.
Keurig?
Oh, yeah. She had a whole setup in this sign.
In a sign? How big?
So, like, the building, and then above the building is the sign, and then They said it's like 5 feet, wide,
Yeah.
8 feet tall. It'd be like I don't know, a big closet kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was like a whole setup. And she was like just living up in there.
In Michigan?
Yeah. Which would get cold.
Really cold. And also, like, you're inside. Also, during the summer, you're hot.
True. Yes. Right.
All, like insulation is important.
It says she had flooring. I don't know what they mean by that.
Okay. Next thing you know, you're going to tell me she got a DIY YouTube channel where she's showing us how to do this. It's just like converting your van.
A computer, a desk, a printer, a Keurig, a pantry of food. And they...
Hi, guys. We're back. This week, we're building our pantry. If you have a sign...
Like they pretended like it was a tiny house or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And so then the grocery store was repairing their roof, and so the workers found her up there and were like, "Hey, what you doing?"
Yeah.
And they said basically, you can't live here.
Right.
And even though she was trespassing, they did not press charges. And that's bonky to me that this hooker lived up there for a year.
That makes me think
that she was white.
100%.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And that there's not a mental health. This isn't like mental health thing.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think that this is really shows how bad housing is for people who are like, I think this is I'm getting what? I'm like, call your senators.
I mean, I know you're being serious and like maybe you're right, but Sarah,
we need better housing. Like, she fell on tough times and clearly she's resourceful, but
I guess I didn't think she was having tough times because
she's got a Keurig.
Yeah,
but maybe she had that in her old place and she lost her apartment because something happened. She needed to
But you could not be buying those pods and just be saving up for a new house.
I think that Susie is basically saying, don't buy that latte at Starbucks.
Well, if you're living in a sign, I am going to go on record as saying, like, if you are unhoused, you should not buy Keurig pods.
Okay.
I don't think that's too far.
Oh, God. That's so funny.
But
yeah, no, you're right.
I'm annoyed that they didn't charge her, but also just that they're not releasing her name. Because why are we protecting this fool?
Yeah.
Come on. And also, how do we know about it? Again.
It's a good story.
Right.
I do think it's like the story within the story that there's something about the state of housing in.
Okay, you don't think maybe she just thought, let's see what I can get away with?
Oh. I'm too nice. Maybe
it's both.
Maybe it's both.
I want to interview her and be like, let's hear it.
I want to know everything.
Anyway,
there's a story there. There's a really good story there.
Yeah, it is, but we'll never know it because
I want to know about this sign lady.
Okay, moving on. That was just because I think it's funny. Okay. So, you know how like wherever men are, there's a problem?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
Well, there was this story about how all the researchers, in Antarctica.
Yeah.
Like there's 2 women and like a gazillion men. And so then these ladies have to live with these animals.
Yeah.
And, they're up to their old tricks, all the raping and all that jazz. And it's awful. And
it's really sad.
There was like a woman that kind of blew the lid off of it, basically saying like detailing and creating like a formal, what do you call it? Like where you say
like
this,
complaint report?
Yeah, complaint.
Yeah.
And so then these guys get all these science research grants and stuff. So there are organizations that are supporting it, and so they have to look into it. And so they did this, I guess, a study to find out what's really going on. And they found that 59% of the women at these stations experience sexual harassment or assault.
Oh my God.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
60% basically of women, and they're trapped. Like,
right.
Whenever you go with like a group of researchers, then you get like one phone and you call every day to say like if you're safe or not. But if the guy is the one that calls,
right,
he's just gonna be like, "Yep, we're all safe.
Everything's
and
fine."
Right. And just like the details of how it's set up were so disturbing, because the lady was saying that even on the plane ride there, it's not like freaking JetBlue or something. It's one of those like not meant for people kind of planes.
Yeah.
And so there was no bathroom on board. So they had like a bucket and just like a piece of fabric. But the fabric was like not full length because the men stand up.
Because they stand. Oh my God.
And so she'd go to pee and her butt was visible from under this curtain. Stuff like that. That's like minor in the big picture, but like
major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just how like if men are setting everything up, they just either don't care to
it's really fucked up,
or that it doesn't occur to them that there would be a problem with a bucket. And makes me mad.
It has to be 50% women or more women, or it's trouble.
Often, instead of blowing the whistle or filing a complaint, women will just leave the field.
Right.
And so,
because there's that, well, if you don't like how it is, go somewhere else.
Yeah, and I don't blame them either, because who wants to work in that kind of environment? And so then you don't have as many women in STEM, and there's all these things that happen because we're not protecting. I'm sorry, but if you're going to send people to a remote place, you got to put in some sort of protocol. Come on now.
Yeah, what do you think the solution is?
They need checks and balances.
Yeah, it's like, or record everything. Like they have the ability to do that. Throw a freaking camera in there and record the audio, get everything, and let, I don't know how, we got AI. Let AI listen in and report anything that sounds like.
Because when you first see it, you think, oh my gosh, even in Antarctica, and then you think, well, yeah, there's men there.
Right.
Why
and
wouldn't it be?
So in this book that I can't remember, what it talked about is how it's exactly what people say, well, it's not all men. You're right, it's not. But what happens is it's usually the more one that's very socially dominant who uses like misogynistic kind of language and behaviors and actions in order to get that role. And then everybody who sees that person as a person of power doesn't fight back. Like doesn't even when you interview, you take those men who go, well, I would never do that, and you interview them, they say, no, I would definitely say something. When you put them in those environments where somebody is doing something that is inappropriate, making those comments, sexually assaulting somebody, they don't speak up. They don't. We think you're going to, and then you don't. In the same way women think, oh, I know, I will fight them off and I'll do this and I'll do that, and then you freeze. It's the same kind of thing where they're freezing for different reasons, and they laugh along and they go along with it in order to like protect their own space in the social hierarchy, and they're not even aware that they're doing these things. And then that gives the person who is the perpetrator permission to keep doing it, and that's what creates those rape cultures.
Yeah. And a lot of times the small things like the curtain, if you're just going to make a big fuss about it, then you become like hard to, quote unquote, hard to work with.
Right.
And some of the examples, when you put them all together, you see this picture. But like a small thing she was saying was like they would go on these hikes or whatever to look for stuff. And whenever they would stop to kind of have a meeting, he would always stop so that he could stand on like a rock and be higher than the rest of the group. Like this is a guy that was very into being dominant and in charge, and would leverage his every opportunity to
Yeah.
diminish, especially the women. And he was using, like you're saying, terrible language and calling them names. And then basically what normally happens is they just say, I'm not doing this anymore. And then they leave and that guy's mission is accomplished. So
Right.
I give her credit for coming forward. I'm sure it sucked for her. And finally he lost his job as a result, but
Oh, thank God.
he was just one example. But my gosh, even Antarctica. So that's bad news.
Really bad news. Oh, God.
Okay. This is cute though.
Just put an all women's team out there, and they don't do it. You don't. What, come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, do that.
It's better.
I bet you if I were doing that kind of work, I would need Lumi even more than I do right now.
Yeah, this conversation's got me sweating.
Right? Even in Antarctica, where it's like 2 degrees.
Well, listen, anybody who lives in the cold is like, doesn't matter how cold it is, you have to layer up, and then that makes you even more sweaty. And so you need it even more in the cold.
Yeah, and you don't want to be stinking up the joint. Lumi, whole body deodorant. You can put it anywhere.
Yep.
It works like you wouldn't believe. It smells so good. All their scents can help with odor control for 72 hours. Come on.
Summer's coming up. Coconut is the best scent for
Ooh.
summer. It smells
It's
like
vacation.
yeah, it smells. It has that like beachy vacation scent to it, and I love it. I like wait for like I've got my seasonal deodorants.
Yes, and you will love it too. And it feels great on your body. And if you do forget the next day, at least you're still covered. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get 15% off all Lumi products with our exclusive code. And if you combine the 15% off with already discounted starter pack, that equals over 40% off your starter pack. Use code BrainCandy15 for 15% off your first purchase at LumiDeodorant.com. That's code BrainCandy15 at LumiDeodorant.com. Like I said, they have the wipes, they have the cream, they have the bar, they have
Body wash.
the body wash. So you can put it anywhere, take care of your whole situation. Okay, this is a cute little thing. This researcher was doing his research on whether, I think he was just studying the jargon of hockey players and just the funny words that they use and whatever for his work. But then when he would tell people he was working on that, they would all say, are you looking into why American hockey players have fake Canadian accents? And he was like, what? And so he changed it and he decided to look into that. And so he was saying how these American hockey players, I'm sure it's unconscious. It's not like they mean to, but they develop this way of speaking that is like absorbing the Canadian, specifically about like hockey words.
I was going to say, as soon as you started talking about this, is a lot of it Canadian slang?
No, he was looking into pronunciation. So like they call them what is the word? It's called monophthongal, and it's like words that the vowel sound has like one sound only, like the word boat. It's just that O sound. So he was studying those words because Canadians say them differently. It's almost like, Monica Erickson.
Yeah.
So she might go on a boat, but we don't say it like that. We just say boat. And so he found that these hockey players have like this weird in the middle way of saying it. So that's why it sounds fake, because it's not fully correct the way a Canadian would, but it's also not the way an American would. And I don't know, it's just cute because
it's adorable.
Yeah, like we absorb stuff from each other. And it says that they weren't doing it to sound Canadian. They were doing it to try to sound like hockey players.
Yes, yes. And isn't that cute? Yes, that hockey players are Canadian. And so, like, that's a big thing there. And so if you are imitating the hockey players, you're really just imitating a Canadian accent. That's
Yeah.
so cute. I
Yeah.
do like that.
Okay.
Well, that I can see that going in any culture where you could say, like, I can imagine a kid loving, like a little white kid loving a basketball player or something like that who's black, and then adopting either like a look or language or whatever, and the parent being
Yeah.
like, why are you talking like that? He's like, oh, I'm just talking like this, my favorite basketball player or whoever.
I never thought about that because whenever I hear white people taking on the affect of like Black Americans,
Yeah.
I get it like makes me cringe because it feels
Yeah.
like
Right.
appropriation.
Same.
And I never thought about it because Canadians that we don't usually think of as black, even though of course there are,
Yeah.
especially hockey players. You're usually picturing like white guys.
Yeah.
And why did I think that was cute?
I know
whenever
that.
tell
That's
me,
what made me think
analyze
about it.
that.
I don't know. That's what made me think about it because I'm like, huh. I wonder if this would go, if
It doesn't feel appropriative in an offensive way to me. If it just feels like someone trying to fit in or not
Yeah.
even realizing it. But
Yeah.
when you feel like most of the time white people are doing that on purpose? It's not like subconsciously just absorbing it.
Some of them, yes, until I met Dustin from On the Real World from Las Vegas season. And he grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood.
Yeah, that I can see.
And
Like, if you're
he just
living in
talks,
it.
yeah, he lived there. And so he talked like everybody he grew up with. And it was like, of course, that makes sense, you know. But if somebody who grew up in my neighborhood starts talking like that, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. Well, this is like off the subject, but you know how I'm watching that series about the dark side of comedy, and they have an episode about Carlos Mencia. And I did not know that he had been like excommunicated from the comedy world.
Yeah, wasn't it for stealing jokes?
Yeah, like Joe
Okay.
Rogan confronted him on stage and accused him, and it was like a thing, you know, that everyone knew in the behind the scenes, but they actually confronted him on stage. Joe did, and so then it like ruined his career, and his show got canceled and stuff. And first of all, I think it's really funny that like comedians are fine with like all kinds of like rape and terrible behavior. But stealing jokes is like a bridge too far.
Oh my God, what a good point.
But I bring it up because I didn't know that Carlos, he is originally from Honduras. And then his mom had 18 kids.
Whoa!
Right. Birthed 18 kids, and her brother couldn't have kids. So she gave her brother Carlos as like a gift, like since you can't have kids, so they
take
adopted
one of mine?
him.
Holy crap!
And the mom, the like, what do you call adopted?
So borrowing
mom,
things from somebody else,
right?
really kind of was deep in his roots.
Well, and his adoptive mom was from Mexico, and he lived in a Mexican neighborhood, and so he developed this, like you're describing that Dustin did, where he, even though he's from Honduras. He took on more of like the Mexican culture and way of speaking and stuff. And his name was actually Ned.
Oh, not as funny.
Ned Mencia. And when he started comedy, that Mitzi Shore from the Comedy Store, she said, you can't be a angry Mexican and be Ned. You have to have a better name than that. And she said, how about Carlos? And so he just took on the name Carlos.
Wow.
So part of what Joe weaponized against him was like, he's not really Mexican. He's like a fraud. He's like he was accused of appropriating, which to me is not.
No, that's not that. You grew up in that No, that's not that. That's not that. That's
like,
not that.
Maybe you're not Mexican, but like, it's not like he was just some white guy. You know, like.
Right. So, okay, how about this? So say you're from, I don't know, Ghana, and then you come over here when you're born and like really young, and you grow up and you develop in a black neighborhood and you start developing culture that's in line with and
Right.
behavior and
fraudulent.
language. No, not at all. Because you come on.
I know. I felt bad for him.
That's some bullshit.
And I don't think you should steal jokes, of course, but like, my God, it's like big deal.
And like Joe Rogan, really? Fuck you, Joe. You get everything wrong.
Right. I guess, well, it's complicated, but I'm
like,
just
he's going to
saying.
sit and invite a bunch of people on his show who are all spewing like fake news fucking facts, like not even real shit. Nothing is it's all bullshit. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to call somebody else out for not having this fact straight or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. But
Joe Rogan is not the one to be delivering that. Even though I don't want people stealing jokes and all that stuff.
Yeah, but come on.
Come on.
Like, especially if it's just sort of like a stock joke, that.
Yeah.
Everybody kind of does a lot of the same material. Let's calm down about it.
Let's, please.
Anyway, that was a really good point that you made about the different ways that people can absorb culture and the ways of speaking, and some are more adorable than others.
Yeah.
And like the motive or intention or whatever.
Yeah, I think that matters.
Okay, here's what I wanted to ask you your opinion on. There was an article in, I think this was The Atlantic, and it was like, do children have the right to hug their parents? So if their parents are incarcerated, do they have a right to?
Yes. Without no hesitation. 100%. It's actually cruel and unusual punishment to not allow it.
Aw.
I'm going to cry. 100,000,000%. Look at the Harlow monkey study and tell me otherwise.
Well, yeah. And, okay, so
I can point to multiple studies that would be evidence for why you should not take that away from a child.
Okay, so the framing of it was there's a lawsuit happening against a jail that has replaced its in-person visits with these video calls that have become very popular, especially after the pandemic. Yeah. And they are facilitated through this company called Securus. And I have dealt a lot with Securus because of the research that I do. And it is, of course, a for-profit, situation where they require, even if I want to email an inmate, I have to pay for a, quote, stamp, even though it's email.
Oh my God. Fuck the system.
So, like, if your loved one is incarcerated, you or the inmate have to pay just to be in contact. Mm-hmm. And so then when the pandemic happened, it really ushered in like this opportunity for jails to make, because jails get some of the money. It's not just Securus that gets the money. They profit share with these facilities. And so the prisons they're into it.
Of course. This is so fucked up.
So these video calls cost a lot of money, and they're, I think, $1 a minute. And they're not high quality. They're like, often the audio doesn't work, or it's like fuzzy, and sometimes like it doesn't work at all, or it hangs up on you. And for most people, let's say you're on an hour, $60 is a lot.
No, that's right. You're not doing that. No.
So this family is suing because these little girls want to be able to visit in person. Yes. In some places, they'll allow both. Like, you can schedule a video call if you want, or you can come to these visiting hours.
You can't take away that from people. I'm sorry.
Well, and because to me, it's not.
That's like solitary confinement. Like,
okay, so you're arguing it should be a right for the prisoner and for their kids.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Because some people get mad when you argue that the inmates should have any rights like that, because that feels to some people like a luxury.
I think that's basic, like food and shelter and to hug your child. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, because also halfway through the article, I had one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I'm just picturing men. Well, there are moms, locked up, of course, too. I wasn't picturing them. And like a lot of them give birth from the facility, and then all of that,
Could you imagine? No, that is torture.
Well, but the counterpoint, of course, for a lot of people is like, well, then don't be a criminal. How about that? Maybe if you had made better choices,
then where do you stop? Okay, well, let's just take away your beds. I guess you don't need to have a bed then. Well, okay, if you wanted a bed, don't be a criminal. Oh, you want to eat? You want to have food? Well, then don't be a criminal. We can keep going with that game. That's fucked up.
Right. And so you feel like that should be included.
Yes. Basic human right.
Yeah.
To receive that's heartbreaking, because we know what happens when, and I would bet they should do a study on this. Look at the inmates who are able to have physical contact and can give their loved ones a hug, and look at their behavior and how they get out, when they get out, their release date, all that, compared to the ones that you take those rights away from.
You're right.
Look, I'm using my serious tone now, and my head, I'm like, this is like, I mean, business tone.
Yeah, and you're right. They included a lot of data in the article about what happens behaviorally.
This is better for everyone.
Yeah.
If actually helping people and making it a better experience, getting people out is your goal. Unless your goal is making money, which it sometimes seems like it is, in which case, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, and these facilities don't really have a big incentive to have these in-person visits. It's a pain and all that.
Right.
And whenever they got rid of in-person visits and just had the commission calls, their revenue went from $150,000 one year to $400,000.
Oh my God.
That's a lot of money.
They want that. Right. At the expense of people.
Oh. Yeah. So they argue like, hey, this brings funding to the facility. We can make it better for the, right?
Yeah. So does slavery. We don't do that anymore because we realize that's also messed up. Come on. Oh,
to me, the
hate the prison system.
Well, that's the thing. What you get. This is just one example. They shouldn't be profiting. It shouldn't be a.
It's the same thing with the ankle monitors. The when people are on house arrest, all this stuff. It's all money. Like that. It's expensive.
Yeah,
we have a $50 day monitoring fee to just monitor that. Like you can't even. It's so messed up.
Yeah, we shouldn't really be making money off of criminals, just in my opinion.
I agree.
Okay, those are my main stories for today. I hope you enjoyed.
I sure did. Good ones.
Sarah's still reeling from the mouse attack, but I think you really held it together.
We're good now. We're good. We survived. The mouse has survived. Everybody's happy.
I was really glad I got to witness that, though, because that was true crippling phobia.
True. I've thought about it many times since, that how it, like, there was no. Well, I was watching a Instagram video of a guy who has AFI, something like that. It's like a eating disorder where you have a real hard time with like textures and certain foods, and you get like really. And it can be really dangerous because people sometimes don't know they have it, and they can become nutrient deficient because they're only eating one kind of food. And so I was watching a video of him try to eat like mozzarella cheese or something, and to have him go like taking the deep breaths. And after my mouse incident, I was like, "You do you, buddy. I know it's hard. It's and if you don't need it, if you don't want to do it, don't do it. It's okay. Maybe another day." Like I was like, you know what? It makes me a better therapist because that was we went some places.
Right, I could see that. Like, if you didn't have phobia,
right,
it would probably be harder to empathize with.
And that is not one that I often have the opportunity. It's not like if you're scared of dogs or something like that, where like you see them a lot and you like, I don't know, that you have the phobia or like this,
Right.
I'm less aware that this is an actual phobia of mine in my day to day because I don't encounter many scurrying mice and that are ones climbing up the screen. And so
I was trying to tell my mom about it, and I was saying how funny it was when you saw it and everything. And then I was like, well, Sarah has these 2 phobias, mysterious wetness. And then she's like, what? And I was like, well, like, and then I felt my explanation for it was inadequate because I know what you mean.
Yeah.
But I forgot about how you don't even like it like on handles and stuff.
Oh, anywhere, water. If you touch a surface, if it's dry outside, there's no reason for something to be wet. And then you touch something and it is wet, but you do not know the source of said wetness. That would be mysterious wetness and it's fucking creepy.
I'm going to have to show her you saying that because you did a much better job. I was like, well, like if you're in a bathroom and there's like a puddle, but you don't know where it came from. And she looked at me like, no, I don't. But to me,
she's not hyper aware of mysterious wetness. Trust me, once I plant this idea into your head that there is mysterious wetness all over the place and you don't know where it came from and people are disgusting and who knows, like just like
I do. Do you know
animals pee? Everybody pees. It's like birds are taking shits out of the sky and like.
Tell me if I'm remembering this right though. Did you or did you not tell me that the origin of the mysterious wetness phobia happened at an Old Navy or a dressing room of some kind?
Oh, I think what you were saying that you thought that this may be my origin story because I worked at Forever 21 and I had to clean up pee in the and people peed in the dressing room at least 2 or 3 times while I worked there.
Okay, but you don't know if that's the beginning of that.
No, I think it's a sensory thing. I think it's a texture thing because I think what it started with is when I put on socks and then like went back in the bathroom, even though I know where the water's from. And you step on one of my least favorite feelings, if not the worst feeling to me, is wet socks. Like when you have like
totally
dry socks on, then you step on, then they're wet. And I'm like, oh, and I gotta take my shoe. Oh, I can't put my foot in it's a whole thing. So I think maybe it's like a feeling. I can imagine the feeling of wetness. Says the swimmer.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Do you
either want to be totally submerged or totally dry?
Okay, so if you're camping and you go on a hike and you step in a puddle and your foot gets wet, that doesn't bother you because it's not mysterious.
Not mysterious. I know exactly where that came from. Nature. See, wet outside, explainable. But if I'm on the streets of New York City and I step in a puddle, oh, cut off my foot.
Yeah. And then if you are camping though,
and what if I step in a puddle and then I see a rat? Oh God, I die. This is why I can't live in New York. This is why I really did not do well in Brooklyn for that reason.
Right. I mean, it just would be constant. One or the other.
Right.
I'm sorry I went through that.
Thanks, Susie. You're really here for me. So understanding.
Okay, we covered the mouse update and snakes on Catalina Island that are becoming more aggressive.
Aggro.
Yeah, and the woman who couldn't quit eating cheese.
Can't quit cheese.
I think we haven't heard the last of her.
Yeah, I don't either. I really do think there's going to be an update. Yeah. It's going to be, I bet my money's on it goes the other direction and she becomes a like vegan lifestyle blogger or something like that.
Yeah, I think she's laying the foundation.
I think so too.
Here.
I do too. Yeah, we know. We've seen this enough to recognize a pattern.
Sarah's saying, hey, we really need to sort out this housing market because
people are living in science.
If you had to live in a sign.
Yeah.
Which sign would you live in?
Oh, IKEA. It seems very block letters.
That.
Get the fuck out.
Yes.
We should have written it down and both been like, yeah, I that would have been great.
Why did we both think that? They have a big sign.
Big sign, and it's all connected in big block letters. That seems like there's going to be a lot of room in there. There's some nice, like, that seems. Yeah, and they know furniture.
Write down the sign I would not want to live in. and see if you can get it.
The sign you would not want to live in.
Yeah, because there is one where I'd be like, I can't live in that.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. There's one that I think I couldn't live in too. Because I'd be like, that doesn't make sense.
Stop. Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah. Is it Target?
Starbucks. Oh.
Same idea though, because it's a
Think
circle.
in the center.
Yes.
I was like, how am I supposed to fit myself in that lady?
Yeah, like you'd just be like,
right.
you
And then I'm like,
couldn't
I could have like
stand.
one leg and one arm. Like there'd be, it wouldn't work. Right.
Starbucks is so good. We literally had the same idea. It's the circle.
Circle. Yeah. Can't live in the
good.
circle.
I feel like we should count that as a success.
Yeah. This is great.
Okay, Antarctica scientists, boo.
Oh, boo.
Well, male scientists.
Yeah.
Hockey players, so cute.
Mm-hmm.
And Carlos
little
Mencia,
accents.
justice for Carlos. Justice for Ned.
Justice for Ned and Joe Rogan. Fuck off with that
Off.
shit.
Did you just look up at the window again?
Well, because I saw a little thing move and I was like, what if? And it was just a leaf falling. So.
Okay, you get the idea. Thank you so much for listening. We love you guys.
We'll see you next time. Bye.